on that note, the formal welcome to our Creative Aging webinar, Grant Opportunities with the South Carolina Arts Commission. My name is Amber Westbrook. I'm the Grants Manager for the South Carolina Arts Commission here. We also have with us Krista Grenza. She's also a part of our grants team here. And we have presenting with me is Laura Marcus Green. She's our Folklife and Traditional Arts Director. We also have Amanda Noyes with us. She's our Accessibility Coordinator, also our K through 12 coordinator, also in charge of our arts directory, who will be talking today. And then we have LaRushla Murphy with us, who is our arts industry coordinator. And all things organizations, she is your person. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and hand things over to Laura.
Okay, thank you so much, Amber, and thank you. Welcome to everybody, and thank you very much for being here. As Amber said, my name is Laura Marcus Green, and I am the Folklife and Traditional Arts Director here. Amber, why don't we go to look at the agenda? So just to let you know what's on your itinerary for the next 90 minutes, we're going to have our welcome, and I'm going to give a brief introduction about our Creative Aging Initiative pilots. We've been piloting some programs over the last year, especially our Quilted Quatrains pilot. And then Amber and LaRushla will be walking us through some grants programs that are available to support existing and new projects in the areas of creative aging and beyond. And we'll have some tips and best practices for applying for those grants. And then Amanda, as Amber said, is our K-12 coordinator and coordinator for accessibility. We'll share information about our South Carolina Arts Directory, which is a statewide listing of artists who are available to offer programs. And that list could be tapped for to offer activities for seniors programs. And then, as Amber said, following our presentations, we'll open it up for Q&A and conversation. So thank you. We look forward to being with you. And Krista, thank you for your help today. And before I dive in, I also want to just give a shout out to those who made today's program possible. In addition to my wonderful colleagues here with us, I want to thank my partner in this work, Evelyn Coker, who is the Executive Director of the Blackville Community Development Corporation. Also, Kay Hightower and I have been planning for today's webinar for at least 2 years, maybe more. And she has been a great partner and also helped get the word out about today. So thank you, Kay. Also, some of our other project partners for this include the staff from Palmetto Care Connections and Generations Unlimited, who partnered on the Quilted Quatrains program. And also we want to thank the National Endowment for the Arts for a partnership grant that has in part supported this work. Okay, next slide, please, Amber. So the term creative aging was coined by geriatric psychiatrist Gene Cohen in the early 2000s and has blossomed into an interdisciplinary field at the crossroads of arts and culture, senior services, health, and physical and emotional and cognitive well-being. Folklore colleague Kathleen Mundell explains creative aging as how creativity in all its multifaceted forms can not only help sharpen cognitive skills, but also further the aging brain's ability to grow, change, and form new connections. Creative aging researchers and practitioners are exploring the benefits of engaging older adults with the arts, cultural, and creative activities, both from the perspective of participatory engagement, in other words, hands-on, taking part in activities, but also from the perspective of receptive experience. So when we attend concerts or exhibits, festivals, or community-based arts programs as audience members, research shows that engaging as either a participant or an observer is beneficial to our physical and cognitive health. And we in the arts and culture field and those in the fields of aging and social services don't always have the opportunity to talk to each other. We tend to work in our separate worlds, it seems. And I think if we meet under this tent of creative aging, though, we might have a lot to talk about. I know that we have a lot to learn from each other, and it's exciting to think what we might accomplish in exploring possibilities for bringing high quality arts and culture programs into the lives of South Carolina's older adults. It's our hope that today's webinar might be a step in that direction. And from our registration list, it looks like we have a really nice mix of staff from senior service programs, arts agencies, as well as artists. Many seniors programs already incorporate arts and creativity into their regular activities, and there are art centers and programs whose activities regularly engage seniors. Some seniors programs may be interested in offering arts programs, but they may not know where to start or where to find support for this work. So we really hope that you come away from today's conversation with some helpful resources to support either your existing work or maybe give you some ideas for new ideas for merging arts and social services and creativity. And as time allows, we'd love to hear what some of you are already doing and or your ideas about what you'd like to do. And I'd also say that the term creative aging includes all art forms, performing arts, visual arts, literary arts, and more. The South Carolina Arts Commission's grants and services support just about all artistic genres. Folklife and Traditional Arts, which is the program that I direct, has a special focus on those art forms and traditions that are an expression of our identity and belonging in a particular culture or other community. And so, as I said earlier, the Folklife and Traditional Arts program has launched a creative aging initiative over the last few years, piloting a series of activities with the Blackville Community Development Corporation. And so I wanted to share an example from our creative aging initiative to demonstrate how we might collaborate across our different areas of expertise and how engaging in creative activities might benefit older adults. Next slide, please. So our creative aging initiative was taking shape during the first year of the COVID-19 pandemic, which coincided with a time when the South Carolina Department on Aging and Palmetto Care Connections, which is a statewide telehealth agency, were working together to bolster rural seniors' access to at-home health care and also to address social isolation. Research shows that loneliness and isolation contribute to a health of host problems comparable to the risks of smoking cigarettes. To address their mutual goals, the Department on Aging and Palmetto Care Connections, or PCC, collaborated to put tablets in the hands of 20 seniors in each of 5 rural communities, including Barnwell County, where our Folklife program was already partnering with the Blackville Community Development Corporation on our Folklife Field School. So PCC provided training and technical support for participating seniors to learn to use the tablets, including instruction on email and Zoom, and they even offered a year's internet service. Next slide, please. And so when we approached the partners with the idea of adding a creative aging component to their project, they embraced the prospect of arts activities that might enhance seniors' use of the tablets and bridge the seniors' social isolation while helping to fill the programming gap left by senior center closures due to COVID-19. So on the ground in Blackville, we worked with Generations Unlimited, the local seniors program, which coordinates activities at Barnwell County senior centers. For our part, we believe that an online arts pilot would engage seniors in appealing and meaningful activities that invited creativity, self-expression, cultural reflection and awareness, and connection with others, while giving them practice with technology that could improve the quality of their lives. As an arts agency, we were also keenly aware that the pandemic had made it difficult, if not impossible, for many artists to work in the public settings where they had formerly earned their livelihood. Our creative aging initiative offered opportunities for professional development and some income for artists within the restrictive context of COVID-19. And in launching this partnership, we sought to develop a replicable model that could ultimately be implemented not only in our ongoing work, but also by other seniors programs, arts organizations, and teaching artists. Next slide, please. So for our first creative aging pilot, we looked to 2 artists with whom we had already been working in the virtual realm over the pandemic's first year. Poet and jazz singer Ebony Ram and narrative quilter Peggy Hartwell worked with our project team to develop Quilted Quatrains, a 7-week series of 90-minute weekly sessions that alternated between creative writing and story quilting, drawing upon folklife themes. Next slide, please. This shows the Quilted Quatrains schedule over the 7 weeks. Our themes within Quilted Quatrains were hometown history, family and cultural traditions, and foodways. And so for each theme, we began with the creative writing segment, during which Ebony guided participants through a series of writing prompts, and from which they ultimately pulled 4 lines to make a quatrain. And then the following week, Peggy led them in creative story quilting block, creating story quilt blocks based on the previous week's quatrain. Next slide, please. So there was much laughter and reminiscing, along with coaching and encouragement and appreciation as participants explored new ways of bringing familiar traditions to life. And so we had thought that the participants might like to contribute one of their story blocks and a quatrain to a community quilt that could be displayed at the Blackville Senior Center, an idea that Generations Unlimited staff welcomed. But we found that participants wanted to keep their blocks, either to display in their homes or share with family. And in fact, one participant posted photos of her story blocks to about 15 family members and held a contest to see who could guess what the story was. And a number of participants were eager to teach younger generations family history through the use of the story blocks. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to share a couple of the blocks. This one is from Liller Hamilton. She was responding to the hometown history theme. And she wrote, "Working in the field from morning to night, aching back with no relief in sight. Going to town on a Saturday night was a special treat and a great delight." Next slide, please. And Ada and Ed Felton, a mother and son team, wrote about their Christmas tradition of making fruitcake. Making fruitcake at Christmas, just couldn't wait to lick the bowl. I only ate the candied fruit, but came to appreciate the tasty combination of flavors later in life. So that gives you a sense of what people did in this program. Participating seniors filled out pre and post workshop surveys to gauge the value and the impact of our program. And our pre-workshop survey told us that Quilted Quatrains participants were motivated to take the workshop in order to learn new things, practice on their tablets, and meet new people. Next slide, please. But in the post survey, participants reported that Quilted Quatrains boosted their skills in the following areas in descending order: email, games, looking up information, communicating with friends and family, telehealth appointments, and social media. They also told us other ways they use the tablets in their day-to-day lives. Next slide, please. Including looking up the weather forecast, using a calendar, reading the news, finding recipes, navigating a family member's telehealth appointment, seeking more quilting ideas and connecting with other quilters, and doing a Bible study homework. The tablets also gave more participants more comfort with using other electronic devices. Next slide, please. So things such as their phones, computers, televisions, gaming devices, and radios. And when asked what the most enjoyable and meaningful thing was about Quilted Quatrains, participants overwhelmingly indicated that interacting with others and learning to use their tablets better were the highest on their list. Next slide, please. Oh, I'm sorry, go back. We asked whether Quilted Quatrains affected their sense of well-being, and some responses included communicating with others and feeling a part of it was refreshing. And I developed a more positive attitude about my artistic skills. Okay, next slide, please. So that was Quilted Quatrains, our first pilot. This past spring and summer, we offered 2 more digital creative aging pilots, including a 2-part Ukrainian pisanka workshop in collaboration with Yevgenia Bazali, shown here. Jenna, as she calls herself in English, has lived in Colombia for 8 years. And she brought with her a degree in special education and a lifelong passion for the Ukrainian tradition of sort of batiking hollowed out eggs to create colorful eggs. They're used as greeting cards to give to family and friends at different times of the year. Next slide, please. And so part 1 of her workshop was a 90-minute presentation on Ukrainian culture and history with a focus on pisanka. And then for part 2, the following week, participants worked together online with Jenna's guidance to create their own pisanka. And we strategically held that workshop about a month before Easter. And while Quilted Quatrains invited participants to delve into their own cultural traditions and personal memories, the Ukrainian pisanka workshop offered them an opportunity to learn about a culture and traditions different from their own, although the decorated eggs certainly resonate with their Easter traditions. And participants also relished the chance to learn about current events that they saw on the news through Jenna's personal stories about the war in Ukraine. And at the end of the second session, one participant said, "I'm so sorry for what's happening in your country. I'm going to tell my children and grandchildren about what I learned from you today, and we will pray for your country." Several participants sent photos of their eggs for us to see. Next slide. And some went out and purchased their own supplies and taught their grandchildren how to make pisanka as part of their Easter celebration this year. And then last summer, folklorist Amy Howard offered an online song and story circle during which participants shared a song that had special meaning for them, and then they shared the story of that song. And then this week, we're piloting a new two-part workshop on fall traditions of India with South Carolina-based traditional artist Jugnu Verma. And week one will feature an online presentation about Indian folk art traditions. And then the second week, we're going to do an in-person hands-on workshop in Blackville. That will be our very first hands-on creative aging workshop. So I have a little bit of follow-up information about these programs, but I'll save that for the end. And I'm going to pass it on to our Arts Commission Grants Manager, Amber Westbrook. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Laura. All right, so in my segment, you guessed it, we're going to talk a little bit about our grants programs that we have available. We won't go over every single one that we do offer at this time, but we will give a little summary of the ones we offer specifically that will assist in any kind of creative aging programming that you are thinking about or already currently have. So we have this kind of sectioned out in 3 different ways. So we have for our individual artists, these are some of the grant opportunities that we do have. And one that we will talk a little bit more about is arts project support. We'll kind of use that also as an example of what our guidelines look like and how it's best to kind of go through them. The other opportunities we have for organizations, so that's nonprofits. It can be arts organizations, of course. We also have some for non-arts. We have like those for grassroots organizations, units of government. We have also some grants available for colleges and universities. Make sure to pay close attention to the eligibility sections of each of our grants that will outwardly tell you who is eligible for which program. So the ones that we will note, we will have accessibility grant to talk about today. Again, arts project support. Our Art of Community Rural SC grant. This is one that is new to us for this year, and we're very excited to offer this publicly to our units of government, our nonprofit organizations, of course, arts and non-arts. And we do have that's one up to $7,500 for this year. That is one specifically that we would love people to take a look at. This is one that has must have a public engagement component attached to it, and it is specific to bring arts and create an arts thriving environment for our rural communities throughout our entire state. So there's no one that's excluded for this. All counties, entities in all counties can apply for this grant. So please take a look at that. I am the point of contact for that grant if you do want to discuss this further. But that is a great one to look at for that programming that you want to provide. Especially for creative aging. And then we have our Rural Libraries Public Engagement Grant. This one is very specific to a certain set of libraries throughout our state. But it is if those are, and I know many of us are, but connected to our local libraries, it's a good one to go ahead and kind of take a look at, connect with them, especially individual artists, if you are used to partnering with local libraries. Or is that something new to you? This is a great one where you can connect with your local library to go ahead and say, hey, I found this great grant opportunity. If we want to go ahead and collaborate on programming, this is some more funding that you can utilize to bring me in to maybe do some creative aging programming in the library. This is a great one for that. And so then, as you see, we also have grants for school districts, schools, and teachers as well. That's just a little bit of what we're going to go through today. For our arts project support and accessibility, those are grant awards up to $2,500. Our Rural Libraries Public Engagement is also up to $2,500. And when I say rolling, I mean that it is a rolling grant deadline throughout our year. So the last chance you have to apply for that grant will be March 4th, 2024. And you can apply for that grant throughout the entire year. But we ask that you submit your application at least 5 weeks prior to your project start date. All right. And so, of course, to find all these lovely grants, you're going to go to the southcarolinaarts.com. This is our newly updated website. We're very happy to showcase this on the webinar today. And so this is our new look, as you can see. And to go ahead and find out how to apply, we have this wonderful, fun little arrow over here to apply for all of our grants. So it'll take you to everything we have. You also can filter your search if you need to, if you are looking just for, okay, eligibility for organizations. Oh, just for me, the artist. You could click on that there and it will show all the ones applicable to you. Now, what we have today, these are these cards that we have for all of them. It all tells you the application period for that grant, when it's planning to open, how much the funding is up to, and then of course the matching requirement. And so for this one, like I had stated before, Art of Community Rural SC highly recommend, please take a look and see if this grant is a good fit for your project. Then we're going to use Arts Project Support as our example for today. Again, this one is eligible for individual artists and also nonprofit organizations and units of government. So it is a great fit, even if you're at the beginning stages, a certain phase of the project right now. Maybe you're in a planning stage, maybe you're looking for equipment. This is a great one to apply for throughout the year. So what you'll find is accordions on each of our grant guidelines pages, and it'll tell you a little bit more about eligibility. Again, like I said, pay close attention to these. For artists, since this one is for both, we have very specific set of eligibility standards here. And then we also have a set for organizations. You come down, we'll go through restrictions. Any special restrictions for a grant, that's where you'll find those. Make sure you pay close attention to those. We also have specific use of funds. So this is where you'll find your allowable expenses, and we'll talk a little bit more on that in just a moment. Again, spliced up for artists and organizations. Any additional requirements will be noted there. Any specific priority we have for those who apply. For all of our project type grants, we do have a priority set for what we have qualified for our Opportunity Initiative counties. That's what you will see there, all of our counties represented. Then we have more information on our deadline and grant period. Again, this is a rolling grant. So this is more of what you would see is just kind of a structure on some of these specific deadlines that will come up. But again, we just ask at least 5 weeks prior to your start date. We also have specific information throughout about who you can contact for which grant. More specifics on funding and match. We'll also talk a little bit more about paying close attention to this section because of the different types of match that may be eligible or ineligible. And so for this one, you do see that funds cannot include, and this is for all of our grants, but other SCAC grant awards you may receive. You cannot use them for a match for another grant. And then of course, in kind is another one that we see a lot. So it's also, okay, up to my match can be 50%. Again, we'll go into that a little bit more detail in a moment. New to our grant guidelines as of last year, we do now have evaluation rubrics. This is for each and every grant program. We really love having these because it really is another way we can be transparent to everyone to make sure you're seeing how your grant application is being evaluated. So how can you get the most points? And so when you do click on that, it will bring you to this shared document, and then it goes into very specifics of which category, how can you get the most points? And a lot of that really is all in the details and really how best you do answer those questions. So we will touch back on that in just a moment. And then of course, our how to apply. We have a little bit more information here about the grants portal account, what that means. Everyone must have one to apply for our grants. And we'll go into the best way to do that. Then we also have a little bit more of a section of support materials. We're also going to go through support materials in a moment. And then starting your application. This is where, okay, so you're like, all right, I'm ready to apply. and you'll click on this. This will bring you direct to the login page for our grants portal. And so this is where if you are creating a new account, no worries, it's right there. We do have a tutorial to guide you if you need any questions with that. We, of course, are available to assist you even in walkthroughs. So we'll come back through. Again, we have more. If you do receive a grant award, this gives you a little bit more information about what are the grant payments like. So what would that consist of? We have it again specific for artists. In this case, they would receive 20% upfront at contract. The rest is at final report. Then we have for organizations, it will be one solid reimbursement after the final report. We have more on funding credit and what the final report particularly would consist of and best practices there. Again, at the bottom of every single one of our grant guidelines, you will find your program director who will help advise you every step of the way, especially for content. Now, if you do need any technical assistance, that is where the grants team is here to help you through that. So if you have a problem with an upload, a problem with a support material, any creating your grants portal account, we're here for you. So we have our information here below. Then, of course, we always have on the bottom of our pages, grants coaching. This is just another great resource for you to have where we have open coaching calls that are accessible. We also have specific pre-recorded videos that also have tutorials, one also on creating a grants profile account. And then, like we had talked about before, that walkthrough assistance that we can do, we have the availability for a one-on-one with the grants team, and then we can also loop in any type of advisor, depending on your needs. So we love to just kind of point that one out. So now we'll kind of go back through. All right, here we go. Okay. So as we just went through, we want to talk about some best practices today. So we will kind of jump back and forth a little bit as we need to, but not too much. So I know it can make a few people dizzy, including myself. Make sure that you create your grants profile account to apply. So that's just what we had shown before about that login page and how to create it. So if you were an organization or you're working on behalf of an organization and they are the ones receiving the grant, make sure when you create your grants profile that you are creating it for the organization that is applying. Now you can also note, you can add yourself as a contact, of course, because you'll be the one that's writing the grant, and that's perfectly acceptable. When it comes time to add your primary contact, AKA your authorized user, that must be the authorized official for the organization. So essentially someone who's going to be signing important contracts, who needs to be added to the grant contract when it comes time, if you are awarded. So that's executive directors. We see a lot of that of school principals. If there is a specific grants coordinator of sorts, maybe someone who's in charge of sponsored programs, that's where you will want to put, that's who's going to need to be the primary contact. Then, of course, as you're working through your application, our grants portal uses the Foundant platform. And so it does have some particular supportive internet browsers. And so what you're going to want is Google Chrome or Firefox. We have noticed that glitches tend to happen much more with Microsoft Edge. All right. Answering narrative questions. This is one, of course, that comes up, but that's again why we offer the one-on-one. You want to make sure as you go, you're working in a separate document as you go, so you can copy and paste information into that application, because we understand technical glitches do occur, even if you are on, you know, a correct browser. Sometimes, I don't know, the power might go out. Who knows? Did it save that last copy? I'm not sure. So it's always great to have that working Word document, notes, wherever you can save text, copy and easily paste. We highly recommend it. Answering the questions asked. So any of the narrative questions that are asked of you in any of the applications, just make sure that you're staying true to what the question is truly asking you for. It's easy to go into, lack for a better word, a bit of a rabbit hole to focus more on one aspect or to deviate from whatever the true question is. And I know we have other advisors on the call who, if they want to chime in a little bit more on that, they can during their segment. But this is something we do see a lot. So just take a moment. This is why I always say, get it all out on the page. Like wherever you're working, whatever document you're working with, like I said, that notes page, whatever it is, get all the information you want to share. Even if it is like the true heartfelt story, like we want to see, get all that narrative out. So that way you can pick pieces that you want to incorporate into your application. It just has a really great, like kind of a template to work from. So you get all of your thoughts out and you see them, and then you can organize them as you need to. Also, if you are applying for multiple types of grants, so not just with the South Carolina Arts Commission, but say you also need to work with SC Humanities, but it's on the same project. Well, now you have all of your thoughts in one page, and you can literally pick all those pieces and incorporate them in other applications that you're working on. All right, so uploads. This is a one that also happens a lot. Obviously, I don't know any grant applications that don't at least have one upload of some format. For this one, for us, we like to mention the required forms. Please use the required forms. If it states it, which it does, in every single application, it'll say, please download this required form. We cannot accept any other format. So one's to pay close attention. Two is our budget forms. So if you have applied with us before, you are very familiar with them. So you want to pay close attention to those allowable expenses. I see some like laughter and some smiling in the room because there have been allowable expenses. So we have the maximum request amount. That's going to be different for each grant that you're applying for. So make sure you pay close attention to that and the match. So whether that is a 1-to-1, a 1-to-2, a 2-to-1, a 1-to-3, 3-to-1, they vary. So make sure you choose that appropriate match on your budget form. Then you'll also want to make sure that the maximum request amount is accurate. That'll be the next thing you fill in. So like I've stated before, up to 2,500, up to 7,500. Make sure you don't cut yourself out of any funding, and make sure that you do note the maximum request amount there. If it is less, then that's what it's gonna go gear you towards. So want to make sure you're getting as much of an award as possible. And then, of course, as we talked about before, the types of allowable match that can be used. So some of the grants that we do offer are funded with federal funds, which means that it will state it that you won't be able to use federal funding in your match. We also have specific grant programs that allow up to 50% in kind. It will be noted in that match and funding section of each of those grant programs. And when we state in kind, this is any particular like item or service that can have a monetary value. So if that is any kind of goods and services for this related, arts focused program or purchases that were donated to you. This could be studio rental space that was donated to you. Any type of editing services. Someone could also donate printing to you. That is where you'll want to place it. And we have a very specific place within our budget form where that goes. But those are just the different types. Okay. Move this over. Then the other types of forms that we do have is our staff demographics form. That is one that is required. We just ask that you do utilize the format we have. And then also we do ask for an upload for board members, but that one can be in a format you wish. We just ask that it be for that applying organization. All right. And then support documentation and work samples. So there's a lot of types of support documentation that you can add, of course. For each one, it will be a little bit more structured than the other. It will tell you the types that we're looking for or the types that are required. So we do ask, sometimes you'll see items for photos, documents, that could be brochures, that could be agendas, that could be a PDF document that you create where you want to go into a little bit more depth of all the artists you'll be hiring. So sometimes you want to just add websites there for people to take a look at, or a little bit more about maybe there's a particular artist residency that you want to go ahead and bring them in for programming. That's a great place for their bio or a little bit more about what they offer there. I know some particular instructors do have like a PDF of what their services are, and you can easily upload it there. We also receive data forms, so that's in different types, especially Excel files. We get those, of course, a lot, but any type of accounting, sometimes people would like us to see the numbers of even in, say, a festival that they've had. This is what we had. This is what we're gearing towards. This is how it'll help us. We also have videos and, of course, websites. And so when we see that, I'm just going to jump to public-facing URLs. That's where we'll ask public-facing URLs of you. So this is for those videos, audio recordings, any kind of Google shared documents that you want us to see. That's what we'll ask of you. We will not be able to have an upload of an MP3 file or an MP4 file necessarily for those. So what we mean by public facing is that our panelists and our staff are able to see the work, the document, whatever it is, without creating an account. So a big one that we do run into issues with is such things as Spotify, or if there is some kind of restrictive access to it, we just ask that you make it so that the link, just whoever has it can open it. We also use a lot of, with Vimeo and YouTube. Those are big and can easily be public facing, yet also restrictive. So like not everyone in the public can view your work samples or support documents. And then, of course, we always ask for the best quality work sample you can provide. We always have more stipulations in the grant guidelines if we need a specific amount of like pixelation, a specific document type, a specific file type, excuse me. We will ask that of you. But this is a chance for you to showcase your best work, the best support you can, so that the panelists who are reviewing your application can really understand the project, that you're working on, the event you're hosting, so they can help get a little bit better understanding of who you are, who's applying, and truthfully also how you're organizing this and how much it really does mean to you. All right. So we'll move on to that. So I don't have eligibility noted because that is a lot to get into. So that's why we've decided to do a full segment of eligibility with LaRushla Murphy. So I'm going to pass it on over.
Let me unmute myself. Good afternoon, everyone. Just want to talk a little bit about some of you may already be nonprofits. Some of you may be municipals, artists, whoever is on the line with us. But as Amber was talking about, all of our grants have their eligibility requirements listed within the guidelines. So it's important to refer back to those, and you can see what types of organizations or artists can apply for specific grants. But for some organizations that haven't become a nonprofit, just wanted to kind of go over some of the basics that are required for our state. Some of them are best practices for nonprofits through all of the US, and some of them are specific to South Carolina. So it's important that a nonprofit knows what their organization's mission is and who they serve and how they serve. For us, all of our grants focus on arts-based events, programs, and activities. So those are the types of programs that we fund. with our grants. You also want to make sure that your nonprofit has a board of directors. As you saw through Amber's slides, that we asked for some of our grants a list of your board of directors. So we want to know who they are and what positions they serve for your organization, whether it's the board chair, the secretary, the treasurer. For South Carolina, there's a requirement of at least 3 people on your board. You also want to make sure that your board understands their responsibility of what they're doing for your organization. Most of those are legal and financial responsibilities, but if you have a working board, then they're also participating in activities as well. And so you want to have job descriptions that identify what they're getting into before they sign on and what their responsibilities are. And as you're creating the organization, you have your purpose, your bylaws, like what policies and procedures do you want your organization to follow to make sure you're meeting your mission, to make sure that you're getting buy-in from your stakeholders, and also the support that you need within the organization. Important things that nonprofits need to do is to make sure that they're doing the proper filing with the Secretary of State. So in South Carolina, if you are a charity, nonprofit organization, you should be applying for 2 separate applications through the Secretary of State's office. And we will get more details on those later, but one is just your general business license. So the business can be a corporation, LLC, it can be a nonprofit, but you want to register your business as a business for a Secretary of State. But you also want to register as a charity. And registering as a charity gives you the ability to ask for donations, to receive grant funds, and also to record your 990 forms as well. And you can apply for exempt status if you're a 501c3. Although 501c3 isn't a requirement that our nonprofits have, you can be a 501c6 or C8, which all have different purposes. Most of them, if you're doing education or human services, are 501c3, but there's about 36 or more different types of nonprofits. But as I said, our grants will go through those art-based programs, activities, and events. I would also suggest that you go, if you're still starting out to be a nonprofit, that you tag on to Together SC. They are a great resource on what you need to become a nonprofit, best practices. They have a cohort of leaders there, as well as different areas, and also training resources. So when you see this video later, you can tap into this link that guides to their video, which is about 35 minutes long. All right, next slide, please. So eligibility requirement for organizations who are applying for grants with us. Like I said, we require that you are, if it says that you need to be a nonprofit organization, we want you to make sure that you're registered with the Secretaries of State's office. So the grants team will go and check their database list to make sure you are on that list. So there have been instances where organizations have applied their businesses, and it does say on their certificate that they are a business under South Carolina as a nonprofit. However, they haven't registered as a charity, which gives that extra step for them to be able to apply for our grant funding. So that is needed as well. Next slide, please. Let's see. So the other requirements are that all of our funds stay in state. So we require that your primary residency be in South Carolina. If you are applying with a fiscal agent or a receiver, they need to be registered as well as a charity and in the business within the state as well. We will check who those receivers are to make sure they are eligible to receive funds in South Carolina. Next slide. Oh, before we go to the next slide, sorry about that, Amber. As I was mentioning about a fiscal receiver and fiscal agent, it is mentioned in some of our applications that if you are using that resource to take over the financial management of your grant, that you have a letter of agreement between the two of you. And we want to see what the responsibilities and terms and objectives that you have developed between those two parties as part of the grant, so that we know that you have the ability to fulfill the project that you have proposed to do.
Do you mind if I add something here, Lareshula,
Yes.
about this fiscal letter of agreement? So this fiscal letter of agreement that is, of course, required, we use this more for those nonprofit entities, right? Those organizations. We do understand that there are special relationships between those who are within a county entity, but they're run by the county. And so we do have special requirements there that you'll see as you fill out your application. It will branch out and it will state whether or not this letter is required for you based upon your answers.
Great, thank you.
We have a quick question in the chat. What if you are in Georgia but service South Carolina?
It depends. If you're in Georgia, but your primary address is in South Carolina, is different than if you are serving South Carolina, but your primary address is in Georgia. I would also say that if you're serving as a fiscal receiver for an organization that's in South Carolina, but you're in Georgia, then you still also need to register with the South Carolina Secretary of State to make sure that you can receive our funds. Amber, would you like to add anything to that?
No, that's perfect. And that's something that we do. It's a great question because we do receive this. And we also have organizations that work very closely with providing programming for South Carolina entities. And so in that case, we do ask that, if it is a nonprofit in which you are working with, we ask that that South Carolina entity be the applicant so that they can fund your services, even if it is out of state. We want to make sure that that entity is receiving the funding.
Thank you. And thank you for the question. Next slide, please. So this is just to talk a little bit more about the Secretary of State's office. This website allows us to search for organizations that are in our state, that are doing business in our state, and that they associate, that we can see their certificate, whether it is the agency themselves or their physical agent receiver. It is a fee of $25 to register. Amber will click on the link so that you can kind of see what this form looks like. You'll click on start a new filing, or if you're an existing, you can check to make sure you're there. You can, so if your name isn't on the list, but you think that you've already applied, you can contact them to make sure, request documentation for a certificate to make sure that your name is on this list when a search is done about your organization. All right, Amber, if you want to click on the link just so that they can see what it looks like briefly. So what you'll do is you're typing your name. It'll tell you if that name is available. This is if you're starting a bit, if it's available, then you can go through all of the steps to create an organization. If the name's already taken, you can come up with another name, because your name will have to be a unique name for your organization. And that is the business search portion. Okay, we can go back to the slide. Next slide. So on the other side of that, remember I told you that there was two parts: applying for your business, whether it's an LLC, a corporation, or a nonprofit. And then there's the charity list. And as we mentioned, the charity list is if you're receiving grants or you're receiving donations. This is a $50 fee. I think is a one-time fee as long as you're keeping your status up to date and you're filing your 990 forms. So you will see this form. And so Amber, if you click into this form, you can click on File Today on your right side. It might be on your left, but my right. And it will guide you through the process of that form. It's a simple form. It mostly just needs the name of your organization, your address. It will ask you about what your mission is and also what the purpose of your organization is. So we may not be able to get to all of the steps of that application. Next slide, please. So once you register as a charity, as I said, going through that form, I think you can see what the form looks like from this PDF. If you don't mind clicking on that PDF just so they can get that. Once you go through the process of filling out the PDF, it usually takes about 2 to 4 weeks for the Secretary of State to get back to you, but it also depends on the time of the year. So, if it's holidays, it may take a little bit longer. But as I mentioned, it's a simple form that you'll need to do, whether it's an initial registration or a renewal. You'll indicate what fiscal year you're applying for, your name of your business, your address, as I mentioned before, and all of those steps to complete the form. And then once they have approved your registration, you will get the letter that Amber showed you before. So this letter is to say that your registration has been accepted. It also acknowledges that you're able to accept charitable funds. It'll give you an expiration date on that form to let you know when to reapply. It'll also, you can click on the charity link, but we don't have to do that now, to make sure that your name is on that charity search list. And that is what our grants team will look for when you are applying for a grant with us. If by chance you're you have applied and have been accepted and is not on that list yet because they hadn't had a chance to update the database, keep a copy of this letter and we will request it if need be, if we can't find confirmation that you are registered as a charity. All right. Next is your annual financial report. This is a requirement by the Secretary of State to do your 990 forms. It is something that they want to know what you're spending your money on, basically your operating expenses. They also want to see what was done for raffles or bingo games, because those are different requirements outside of what you're doing for fundraising for grants and donations. So that is something that's required for you to do annually. All right, next slide. All right, so as we talked about a little bit before, there's different types of 501c organizations that are registered as nonprofit, but the 3 is the one that can be tax exempt. So when you are filing for your IRS entity, for your FEIN number, be sure that if you are a 501c3 and you have and you're eligible to apply for tax exempt status, be sure to check that as well, and it'll be included in your form that you receive from the IRS. All right, next slide. And this is what those forms will look like. Once you completed the application, they'll send you 2 forms. One is to say that we've received your application and that has been processed. And the next one will say that we have determined that you're tax exempt, and they'll give you your tax exempt number and notification for that. They'll also, when you register, they'll assign you your FEIN number. They'll tell you it will have other requirements about how you're in the records and when you should file your 990, and all of those will be detailed in those letters that you get in the IRS. And those are needed for your eligibility. The same with the South Carolina Secretary of State is that if your entity doesn't show up in the database, just because it hasn't been updated, we will request these forms as well, just to make sure that you're eligible for the grant that you're applying for. All right, next slide is Amanda. But thank you so much. If you have any questions, please continue to put those in the chat and we will get to those for you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Larishla. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Noyes, and I am the K-12 Arts Education Coordinator and the Accessibility Coordinator here at the agency. And a part of my role is overseeing the South Carolina Arts Directory. So I'm going to share a little bit with you about what the Arts Directory is and maybe how to use it and how to join if you're interested. So what is the South Carolina Arts Directory? It is an extensive list housed on our website that allows the user to search for an artist by artistic discipline, South Carolina Arts Commission designation, or geographic availability. So it's a tool that you all can search for artists on if you're interested in finding an artist to do a residency with or to help with some programming. Next slide, please. And so who might you find on the Arts Directory? The Arts Directory includes artists across all disciplines. We also have newly started accepting creative arts therapists. So we are slowly growing our list of creative arts therapists, and that's across all disciplines within creative arts therapies, music, dance, visual arts, drama. We have some representation there. We also include our arts organizations are eligible to join, as well as teaching artists. Next slide, please. So this is like a very quick snapshot of what the Arts Directory might look like. When you go to our website, you can search through the full listings, or there's some different options here. So you can use that search feature if you know the artist's name that you want to find. You can type it in there. You can also use that as like a keyword search function. So maybe you're looking for a ceramic artist or a muralist. You can type in mural, and anyone who has indicated that they paint murals within their bio should come up as options to check out. So that's one way to search. You also can search by location as well as their arts discipline. And then there's also that verified teaching artist designation, which I'll tell you more about here in a minute. So those are different filters you can put on as you're looking through that list, which is over 300 artists on there. So those filters do help kind of narrow down a little bit. Next slide, please. So this is what an artist page would look like. This is an artist that's been on our directory for a long time. So you'll see that every artist has their own unique South Carolina Arts Directory number. You can also search for an artist by their number if you know it. Artists all have their artistic disciplines listed. An artist has to apply to join the Arts Directory, and they apply for each discipline that they're wanting to join. So they show work samples in conjunction with whatever disciplines that they would like posted on their page. We also have their contact information and location. So this is dictated by the artist. Some artists may have their website listed, some may just have an email and phone number, but whatever contact information they prefer is listed there, as well as their physical location. That's something that we have started adding more recently, so that when an organization or school wants to partner with an artist, it's helpful to know where that artist is located. Even if they're traveling to you, it may be helpful to know that maybe there's some travel fees, maybe there's some hotel fees that may need to be included in their residency when working with that artist if they're traveling from across the state, or sometimes outside of the state. There are artists listed from outside of the state on the Arts Directory as well. But that's where the geographic availability can be helpful. So if an artist indicates that they live in the upstate, but they're willing to travel to the low country, it can just be helpful for you who may be seeking to find an artist to know that maybe this artist is not near me, but they're willing to travel. So both of those pieces are meant to help the user find the right fit for an artist. And then the About section is going to give you an overview of the artist's bio as well as their artist statement. So that's where you can read a little bit about who this artist is, maybe what services they provide, what their art form is, and it gives you a little bit of an idea whether it's going to be the right fit for the program that you're looking to provide. And then lastly, we have our South Carolina Arts Directory designations. Not everyone will have something listed there, but our current designation that we have available is our verified teaching artists. And these are artists that have joined the directory and that have gone through an additional step, an additional application to become a verified teaching artist. So that application really hones in on an artist's teaching abilities. So we know that not every artist is going to be able to teach their art form. And this is really just honing in on seeing if that artist has that additional skill level within the classroom. A lot of it is really tied to K-12 classroom practices. It's asking an artist to show, can they develop lesson plans, and can they tie their artwork to academic standards. Next slide, please. So how do you become a member and how do you join the Arts Directory? So there's an application process, and there's different applications based on who you are, and there's different application types. So there's an application for individual artists to join. There's a separate application that is tailored to arts organizations, a separate application for creative arts therapists, and then that teaching artist application, which is by invitation only after an artist has already been accepted as a general member of the Arts Directory. And all of those can be found on our website. So you're welcome to check those out or send those to individuals who might be interested in joining the Arts Directory. Next slide, please. So once the application has been submitted, it is sent for an external review process. We have several different panels of reviewers that look at these applications that are discipline specific. So if you're a visual artist, your application will be reviewed by a panel of visual artists rather than performing artists. And this is just like Amber shared with our grants process, with our Arts Directory process, we also have an evaluation rubric that we make available to interested artists who want to join the directory. So this is posted on our website for you to look at, or for an artist to look at if they're interested in joining. And while they're working on their application, they can know exactly how their application is going to be reviewed. And this is exactly the rubric that our panelists are given as well, as they're being trained on how to review those applications, and as they're scoring them to hopefully be able to join the directory. Next slide, please. And then lastly, just a few kind of terms and conditions, some information about the Arts Directory as a whole. Any artist that joins the Arts Directory is required to submit a SLED background check. And actually the South Carolina Arts Commission runs those on behalf of our artists that join and that are accepted. And then annually, we provide a background check to all of our artists. So every year, every single Arts Directory member will receive a SLED background check. There's also a renew process. So after you've been listed on the Arts Directory for 3 years, you're required to renew your membership. So that's a separate application process that we just gain information about what have you been up to the last 3 years? Do you have any updated information that we need to know? And that allows us to make sure the Arts Directory stays up to date, that we are removing members that are no longer working within the state, and that we're making sure the Arts Directory is as updated and user-friendly as possible. And then this is also a rolling application. So artists are welcome to fill out that application and join the Arts Directory at any time throughout the year. It is about a 6-week turnaround time from submitting your application to actually being listed on the Arts Directory. Next slide, please. And why should you join the Arts Directory? So some benefits of joining the Arts Directory. You have that connectivity to other artists and arts organizations and teaching artists. There is a prestige of a juried process. Many of our artists list this on their LinkedIn profiles or share it out within their websites. It is something that is something that's nice to share, that you've been accepted, you've gone through this juried process by a state agency. It's definitely a marketing tool. It's something that you can send out to market yourself and share what services you provide. We also provide professional development opportunities to our artists listed on the arts directory that are only available to those members. Exposure to schools and communities. Our arts directory is a resource for community members and for our schools. And so you being listed on the arts directory really does increase your exposure to potential individuals that you may be able to work with in the future. And then being listed on the arts directory is also a qualifier for our arts education grant funds. So if a school receives a grant that is one of our arts education grants and they want to hire an artist for a residency, that artist is required to come from the arts directory. They must be an arts directory member. So it's just a way that we can support providing quality recommendations to our schools for our artists, but also pushing work towards those artists that have gone through this process to be listed on the arts directory. Next slide, please. So if you have any questions about the arts directory, how to utilize it, any questions about navigating, feel free to reach out to me. We also have an About the Arts Directory page on our website that gives really helpful information about the application process. It has all of the rubrics and evaluation criteria there. So that's also a good resource if you have any questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amanda. And so we wanted to just make sure we had a snapshot of our information, just at least those who are presenting today. We have a wonderful group of arts professionals at the Arts Commission. And like I said, if there's any particular grants programs that you're interested in, their information is always at the bottom, but we at least have ours for you today. And we will provide the slide deck to everyone that did register for the call today. All right, so I think we've come to that time, Laura, where I think we're at questions and conversation. So let me go ahead. Stop share. Hello, everyone. Perfect. So let's see. Krista, do we have any public questions in the chat at this time?
Not at the moment, but if anybody has any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat.
Okay. I did see one that I got one directly, but it does it's applicable to everyone, but it is those who have possibly created a new grants profile or had one existing. So this one was particularly as the grants portal, a new one prior to 2021. And so if you've applied for a grant prior to this, it will, let me see, will be a new SCAC portal and not a new submittable one. So to clarify, all of our grant applications are now through this grants portal. So the Foundant platform. We used to receive grant applications, I'm gonna say probably 3 years ago now. So this makes complete sense. We no longer receive grant applications through Submittable. So you will have to create a new account within the grants portal. Hope that answered your question, but let me know if it did not.
This is a question that I forgot. I mean, a statement that I forgot to make when I was doing my slides is that we were talking a bit about creating a new nonprofit. Some of our grant applications, opportunities require that you have at least 1 full year of programming before you can apply. So be sure to check that on the guidelines as well, that if you are a new nonprofit, that you have at least 1 year of services for those specific grants, and it will be listed in the guidelines.
Have a question from Kay Hightower. Would you please share other arts programming ideas?
Hey, do you want to jump on and elaborate a little bit? Or maybe there are other people, on the call in our audience who have arts programming ideas too that they've carried out.
Just the one that I was thinking about, the ones that we've talked about for years. There was the writing one that Ebony does. You've just been telling me about all this stuff for year. I know that wasn't there one with the field program where you were kind of capturing like the history of like areas. But I know you guys do such wonderful things at the Arts Commission, and I'm sure that the aging community would be really interested about hearing just to kind of wet their whistles or plant seeds of other things that they could do with these funds.
Yeah, thank you, Kay. Yeah, the programs that you're mentioning are some of the other ones that we've done in the Folk Life program. One is the writing one is called Communal Pen. And that's why we chose Ebony to work with us as we were developing quilted quatrains. The Communal Pen is a program that's been around for about 5 years now. And it's a partnership with South Carolina Humanities and the Smithsonian's Museum on Main Street. It's a traveling exhibit program. And there are public writing workshops, that community-based writing workshops that can be applied in a number of different settings. We're getting ready for the next iteration of this. There's a new exhibit that will be coming to South Carolina next summer called Spark, Places of Innovation. That's about, innovation in rural communities. So we'll be developing that as a public program. And then we're launching a new partnership with Athenaeum Press, who are at Coastal Carolina University, and they're going to be taking that model and also applying it to some of their programs. But I could say that Ebony is available to as a facilitator, or you may know of other creative writers, but we find that creative writing process really opens people up. And people often say they're not a writer, but we believe that everybody's a writer. So it's a nice model. The Field School is another ongoing program where we work with people from different backgrounds to teach them how to develop the skills of a folklorist trade. So how to conduct interviews and document through photography and videography. And that's also in a kind of a crossroads moment now, where we've worked with one cohort, again, based in Blackville, for the last few years. And we're about to reach back. There was an Institute for Community Scholars. South Carolina had one of the best field school programs in the country from 1997 to 2008. And it's been dormant for a while. So we're reaching back to the alumni from that program to touch base with them again and open up the program to more people. So thank you for that question, Kay.
Yeah, and I will add on to that. I see that Stephanie Benjamin is on the line, and last year or maybe the year before, there was a partnership with the Laurie Senior Center to work with the South Carolina Philharmonic to bring in those musicians for their services as well. So there's different types of partnerships that you can create to work through all disciplines.
And I want to tell you that, so we will be sending out a recording of this webinar and the slide deck. And we think it may take about 2 weeks or so to have the webinar available to you as an archived recording. It'll live on our YouTube channel. We were also preparing a resource guide to some creative aging, other creative aging resources, and that is going to be full of links and other programs from around the country, that can also serve as sort of inspiration for you. And then I'll also say that we are working with an editor and graphic designer to create an activity guide based on quilted quatrains. So that will be available as a PDF form that you can download or print, and it will offer instructions for a how-to on doing quilted quatrains, either as a virtual activity, as we did it by necessity. And that was, I guess, part of the point, was to have something available to people who are at home, but also as an in-person, it could easily be done that way. So I would also just add too that 2 of the artists that we work with closely, the ones that I mentioned, Jenna Bazali, the Ukrainian Pasanka artist, and Jugnu Verma, the Indian folk artist, are both on the directory. So if you go into the directory, you will find them there. And if you would want to bring them to your programs, their information is available. other questions? Or so somebody, Marguerite, you popped in for a minute. Not to call you out, but
No, that's okay. I was just, when we were talking about different kind of arts programming, we've done some things. The Art Center, the folks that work here, we also run our senior adult program for the city, which is just a program that meets once a month. We have a luncheon, we have different activities and things, but the types of things we've done with the seniors have been tie-dyeing. They really loved that. They love, because it kind of reflected back to their youth. And we have done some things with watercolor, just experimental watercolor techniques that turn into bookmarks, and kind of simple things, but you find that some seniors are limited in what they can do with their hands and things like that. We've also brought in yoga instructors to do some chair yoga type activities with them. And hopefully within our new facility, we'll do some dance and things like that.
and so Marguerite, you're in Newberry
Yes.
at the city. You work with the city, so interesting. So your program, then you work with the city seniors program to kind of
Yes.
welcome them into your center once a month.
Well, actually, they don't come to the center yet. They may after we renovate. We go to another program. I was hired to run the senior adult program, and then we brought in the art center and started building that too. So we've just kind of combined everything.
Mm-hmm. That's great. And I think that speaks to the nature of collaboration and kind of meeting people where they are and
Where they are.
working with them, literally where they are in that case. But we've got a question from Kay Hightower.
Thank you for that question. Sorry, I was just like, thank you for that question, Kay. Sorry, she says count as an art. Does yoga count as an art? And so this is one thing we always will have to clarify, because it does walk that very fine line of movement, right? Of movement exercises. Yoga does not qualify as an artistic discipline. Now dance, of course, does. And we have also supported things that are connected with yoga. So if there is such as a musician who creates sounds for yoga, that particular musician, we have funded something like that. Sorry.
And there may be others on the call who know where you could apply for funding to support yoga, because of course that would be a very worthwhile thing to do. So Miss Penelope, did you have a question or a comment?
Well, yes, I wanted to say to Miss Marguerite, thank you so much for your comment, because I was kind of thinking on the lines of what was acceptable when you said yoga. We do have sort of a senior plan in place at our church. And that was another question of mine, that whether the church would fit into this grant. And what we do with the seniors, we've been doing things like, well, we first started with the technology, because so many seniors didn't know how to use their devices. And not only that, tried to find maybe the doctor's number, finding activities that they could do while they're sitting at home, the coloring. So that expanded to us, them working with their grandchildren. And we use a lot of apps so that they'll be able to write their own stories along with their grandchildren, or even with their children. Okay. And then we also have allowed them to cook. We talk about recipes. When you talk about the seniors, they may not be able to use their hands, but then if they're working in a group, then they're able to work with someone else to say, okay, this is my recipe, and let's see, can we make this recipe? And then they have a chance to sort of work with each other. They eat it, they commune with each other. And so I'm just wondering, will this fit into the art?
I would say, Ms. Bright, that it also walks that same thin line as well. So we don't fund culinary arts. It's not one of our disciplines that we fund. But if you were doing a program, as you were mentioning, where they're doing like storytelling as it relates to the cooking, and we focus the arts funding on the storytelling portion, then that could be a way that you can do a project similar to that, or with the folk life and traditional
Right.
aspects of that.
Okay, because see, it's a mixture of things.
Mhm.
But again, we started with the technology. They're writing stories, they're sending messages, they're learning how to use the technology along with the activities. We have had some, we call it the paint and sips, where they have a something in mind, and basically it's biblically based, and they will paint a picture, so it's just something I guess I can just sort of maneuver to make it artsy. I taught school for 39 years, so it's like that's my forte too, as far as the art is concerned. Thank you.
Where are you based, Penelope?
I am in Hartsville. I taught
Uh-huh.
in Darlington County schools, but our church is in Sumter.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Well, I think that yeah, I mean, as LaRussell said, you can take those arts-based aspects of your project. As she said, the storytelling, the writing. One of our themes in our Quilted Quatrains program was foodways. So people were sharing stories, of the fruitcake that you saw or other recipes. And so I think that aspect, so you could have a whole project. You don't have to change the nature of your project to apply for one of our grants, but you could say, for this project, I would apply for Arts Commission funds for this particular aspect that is eligible. And then what you could do, it's always a good practice to reach out to, as Amanda said, the program director is at the bottom of each page. Call LaRushla, call Amber and say, hey, I want to apply for this grant. Can you help me figure out which part of it would be eligible? So that would make sense. But I'm really excited to hear about what you're doing. And one of the resources I'll look forward to sharing with you all is that the National Assembly of State Arts Agency is kind of our mothership organization that oversees all of the state arts agencies. We're your state arts agency here in South Carolina. And they have just held their 3rd annual Creative Aging Institute, and they have already made the recording available, which is 2 weeks ago. And they had a whole focus this year on intergenerational projects. So I love hearing about the young folks coming together or different generations. And I'll also share with you information about the North Dakota Arts Council is doing some exciting work in that area. And on their website, they have, activity guides that bring, in this program that I just saw from the Creative Aging Institute, they talked about how, a lot of people think about seniors going through loneliness and isolation. They made the distinction between loneliness and isolation, but they also said that young people are even more prone to feeling lonely than elders. So I think bringing these two groups together is really exciting. We hope to hear from you.
I was gonna just follow up with that because I love we get questions about kind of the kind of create and sip aspects. So it's usually some type of, or it's the sip and paint, like the wine and paint. So we can't fund wine, guys. We can't do alcohol. We can't do food or beverages, that kind of thing. I know it's kind of a bummer, but all those arts components, so really funding that, visual artist that comes to that instructor, all the materials related to it, absolutely. But yeah, I know, kind of a bummer, right?
The sip was grape juice.
Was it grape juice? Love it. That's my speed.
But I can even imagine, what if you did a collective cookbook? So you have people,
We're
writing down
working
the
on that.
stories. You might have a writer or somebody working with them to write their stories, and you might have somebody, creating watercolor paintings or something that, or, to illustrate your cookbook. So those pieces would be arts. Yeah.
Laura, we did get that question from Marguerite about sharing the information that you mentioned, and that's going to be a part of the resource packet. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're putting together a compilation of some of these resources that I just mentioned, and we look forward to sending that to you when I think we'll probably send it at the same time our recording becomes available. Also, when we were working on this Quilted Quatrains activity guide, and that will have a resource section as well. There's just a lot of great work being done, and it's huge. We're excited to share that with you. Yeah. And we will also be sending out very soon a survey for you to let us know, about your experience, get your feedback on today's webinar and any other ideas that you have.
Yeah, so we are at time, Laura. I don't know if anyone had any pressing questions. At this moment, you can unmute yourself. We have just another moment, but feel free to email any of us with any questions you have, even ones that, oh, I see one coming, that have come up after this call. We look forward to receiving those emails and, of course, working with you. Okay, perfect. Oh, I love that. Sorry, she said, this is Alicia says, hi, I'm a visual artist on the South Carolina Arts Directory. I've been working with seniors for several years and would love to invite all of you to our seniors painting exhibition next Thursday from 1 to 3 p.m.
Hi, can you hear me?
There she is.
I wasn't
Yes.
sure if my audio was available and I didn't want to jump in, but I've been working at the Lurie Center now, Senior Resources with Stephanie Benjamin, and I've got some students that have been taking a variety of painting classes, like we've done some watercolor, we've done some charcoal, we've done an introduction to acrylic painting and collage, and they're having, I guess it'd be kind of their senior thesis this coming week, or well, next Thursday from 1 to 3. That's in Columbia, South Carolina. Y'all, these people are really talented. And I would love for y'all to see what this kind of program could look like.
Thank you so much, Alicia. So that is Thursday. What would that be? December. Oh my gosh, December.
Yes, let me check my calendar. It's December I'm in November. It's December 7th from 1 to 3 p.m. And our last class is this week. So next week will be a reception for our students, and they would love to see other people there.
All right. Well, that's probably about 10 minutes from our office.
Yes, come by.
Thank you for letting us know about that. Any other comments or questions before we close? We really thank you for taking time to be with us today, and look forward to staying in touch. And one of the things we hope to accomplish today is just for you to see who we are and know what we offer, so that you'll feel comfortable picking up the phone or writing an email or clicking on our website and looking to see how we might support your programs. And we'd love to learn about what you're doing and hear from you. So, thank you very much.
Oh, thank you all so much. Just thank you again for all the important work you do. And we really look forward to working with you, and have a wonderful week and a fantastic holiday. Bye, everyone.